Oh, no, it's not. I am active. I am here. We are in for one doozy of an event today as we get a few racers loaded in for the 3K challenge. Let me get everything set up with my monitors here. Take it away in just a moment as we get dialed in. I think we're going to have Josh Fulton joining us today. I'm not sure if we'll have any other guest broadcasts today, but we're working on that throughout the week. As Seb Bellew, the first Brave racer to make his way out onto the track. All right, so on that note, we've got the broadcast out. The event has begun. We've got a few guys ready to go and headed around the track. Let's get dialed in on the drone cam as we've got a few options here. We'll start off with Seb Bellew rocking that Audi in the Hornsby and Hall patch job, as we've come to know this one. Tonight's race going to be at Laguna Seca, a little multi-class between the GT3s and the MX5s. Not the full GT3 grid, as we didn't want to overwhelm the options. We've got just the Audi, McLaren, Ferrari, and Lamborghini to choose from tonight. So we'll see where the grid takes us. Seb bringing us around now for our first clean lap. Really dialing things in, you can see, before heading into the first turn. And giving us a nice little run. On the other end of things, we're going to peek over to Tough Racer in the MX5, pushing alongside Yanni Catch Cold at the moment. Tough Racer now getting the grip. It looks like Yanni might have had a little bit of an incident with that speed bump further ahead. We see speed bump and clutch rust out in the McLarens. Everybody here rocking some of the custom liveries that we've seen along the years. It's funny to say, but years here at Real Rookie Racing. Very long time coming. Funny to think about, I'll say that much. Let me get everything set up here. I'm gonna make sure that's set up for 144. Got that set up there. And then, of course, stream Assetto Corsa at a little bit of a lower FPS. We'll go from there. So let's see how that goes. Hopefully the stream audio will clear up in just a moment. Obviously, I got a few things going on as it dials in, but I'm sure it'll fix itself over time. That's what it's all about. We're going to turn on the auto cam just as I dial a few more settings in here. Just give me one quick moment. And looks like I've got that off too. So things should be cleaning up on the stream here in just a minute if it hasn't started to already. Obviously, you guys will have to let me know how things are looking. Ooh, as I think we saw Mega Mew going off, but possibly only for a moment. Mega in Ostrich's original number 26 livery. Absolutely fitting for the racer involved. Also, I will do, well, actually I don't need to do our usual thing of tilting the track here on Laguna, because it is tilted for you to see the wind that these guys are up against. Currently, they are driving in the mist with a 3 km/h headwind. And it'll only get warmer for here. Now, tonight's track, the temperatures are going to favor the MX5s a little bit more. And I don't remember, Friday might go the other way, but it could also just be the MX5s. I might have duplicated the event. I'll be completely honest. But, that's what we all figure out together. I somehow keep coming back to speed bump. So let's try and get our hands on some other racers we haven't seen. We've got Tom York on the grid. This one definitely a newer name. We see a few new names tonight, so one hell of an event to debut in, but I'm sure they'll have fun nonetheless. They have a great experience today with one of our rare multi-class events, and at least it's a multi-class that really does reflect some of our original values as far as the GT3 and MX5 being a core of the real rookie days. Man, everybody's struggling in these first couple corners as they get onto the grid. We see now 11 racers on, 5 of them heading out in the MX5s, the rest of them in the GT3. So pretty split grid so far, nice and even as we see a few more slowly jumping on. You see Jumper even with a little bit of a checksum issue. Does the same go for Tommy Boy? Not positive. See what's going on there. Well, Tommy Boy seems to still be loading into the server, so I'm not entirely positive. I think we were noting some possible issues with the Lamborghini. I'm not sure, but that might be something related to downloading the livery pack. Again, we're having some issues for some racers throughout the week. Lando deciding not to finish that lap, as we see a little bit of a multi-class battle going in the back. Who's in this McLaren here? Clutch Russ in the USA GT3. I want to say from season 4, maybe even season 5. There is a Great Britain counterpart out there currently being driven by Speed Bump. Seb Bellew is in the patch shop that we've been continuously following. As Clutch Russ now applying a little bit of pressure on some of the MX5s. Hard to tell on the fly. That one's going to be, I think, Tom York. As Clutch Rush pulling off to the side, allowing us to get a little bit of a look here at Trunks. And I want to say Seb Bellew's Audi livery. So another custom one in play. Again, a little difficult for me to really tell what we have going on as far as stream quality goes. So, you guys will have to let me know if it needs some tweaking. Hopefully things are smooth enough. I do see Trunks now working his way through the corkscrew. So looking in at some of the times, we see Speed Bump with a 1:23. Clutch Russ has put up 53 laps of practice, including the off laps, currently sitting up top with a 1:22.6 in the private practice session. So trying to work back to that in the McLaren now, but looks like they'll be doing pretty well. Thanks, John, for the check-in there. Gonna let Trunks go for a little bit, see what other cars we have on the grid. Heading down the pit lane now in the Krusty Krab Racer. We'll swing over to see who that is. I think it's gonna be Pogo tonight, rocking the Mrs. Puff's boating school. That is one of our original liveries from the early seasons. You guys don't see it much in the NA events because I believe it was Parmesan who was using that for the longest time. But that's the fun of an event like today. You'll get to see some things you don't typically. As we'll jump on with Tommy Boy in the Miami Vice Lamborghini. Jazz Monkey contributed this one to the server actually quite recently, but I don't believe we got the chance to really see it since he was over in the EU events for the most part. We see Josh Fulton now sharing a setup for the MX-5s, trying to help the grid out here at Laguna Seca. As Tommy Boy crosses the line, looking to put up a clean lap. Does he do so? Not on that one. With the multi-class traffic, it is going to be pretty hard to get just a clean lap in, let alone a proper one. We've got the Mr. Ralph Man livery, another EU one that we don't typically get to enjoy, but one from the early seasons of Real Rookie Racing in that number 35 car. Aviator. I like that name. What do we got here? Is that Josh Fulton going out for a race? All right, so Josh Fulton going to put a couple laps in. I mean, he could join me from the grid. I could take a broadcaster just going around in circles. Why not? We'll see what happens there. Oh, okay. He's just throwing down a lap. Wants to set a time to send a message to the grid of what the broadcast team is capable of. You know, I'm going to say that time represents both of us. So we'll watch Josh here in the J2 Peds Scientology number 70 racer. Kind of topical, honestly. That is really funny. Timing. This one, believe it or not, guys, this comes from over a year ago. This was submitted to the server. I'm not positive exactly which season. I think it was season 2, but this was not planned. However, I feel like it's enough that this broadcast is probably going to get pulled. So make sure you share this with your friends and family, this fun event tonight, because I don't know that they're going to get the chance to watch it back after the church gets a hold of that one. Clutch Russ now heading around the final corner, looking still to work his way back up to the 21, about to shave 12 seconds off his time, it looks like, and cruise into a 22.9, so already setting a powerful pace. It's actually a 22.6. That's the current top lap for Clutch in the off lap practices. We'll swing back over towards a few other racers in a bit, but right now I'm curious to see where Josh Fulton ends up before joining the broadcast. I mean, that's a lot of pressure. Being the broadcast car, you have to set a solid lap. Oh, and it looks like he is not going to get the opportunity there with a large grouping of cars coming through. We'll jump on instead with Scrub 127, working his way through turn 4. Now, fair warning to everybody watching who hasn't seen a Real Rookie event, this isn't our usual type of grid. We don't usually let things get so chaotic. You are going to see a fair amount of collisions tonight. You're not going to see a lot of penalties throughout the week. And obviously barring any really malicious incidents, but racing incidents are going to happen in this type of event. And the reason being, we're just doing a little celebration just to welcome the 3,000 members that we've hit now over the course of over 2 years. So just taking a little week of fun to try and go back to where we once were, because, you know, we used to run these combinations, these wacky events on Saturdays. We've tried all sorts of things. We've had some fun here throughout the years, and it seemed like a good way to mark that. Thank you, John. Appreciate that. Wow, who's ripping up like that? That is Left Sink Handle. Absolutely stellar name. Cannot wait for his counterpart Right Sink Handle to hop on to the grid, but manages to swing in with a 143, so it looks to be pretty competitive within that MX-5 grid. Right now, top MX-5 going with a 140. While I'm sticking together, we're starting to see more MX-5s than GT3s, I think. We'll do a quick count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I lost track already, so hold on. So from 8 to 16, that's 8, 9, 10, 11 out of the 21. Actually, we're still pretty split. And one of them is Josh Fulton, so that is going to be a dead even grid at the moment. These guys doing a great job of spreading themselves out, trying to even their odds for the overall championship. Rico Raven. I think that's going to be a Jump Raven cheer section, if I had to guess, coming in for today. Let me take a look there. Looks like they're still having some issues. Give me just a moment. We'll put on auto cam and see what's going on with that. Got a lot of laps going. Hang on. It's the Mazda. All right, just let them know. So it's the Mazda file that's failing. I wanted them to know exactly which one they should be looking at. Hopefully that'll tweak things. Worst case scenario, I'm in the server, so I'll try and help them out. They've been in our MX5 race before. I know they have the pack. But take a moment to welcome my co-host for the evening and the man who was not able to pull off a lap. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Josh Fulton.
Oh, there's still time.
Oh, you're still down there?
Oh, I can jump back in.
Oh, okay, okay.
I just figured open up some spots, see how many slots there were left. But there's still a handful of MX5 spots open, so
yeah. And we want to start to push towards the GT3s a little bit, you know?
Oh yeah.
Big Dean Energy now is looking for a clean lap time. This seems to be like their hot lap temp. Not sure exactly how much traffic came into play, but I'd be willing to bet more than 0, as this grid looks incredibly spread out on the live timings board. Dino jumping up with a 126, has plenty of time to shave off though, as Clutch Rush still sitting up top with that 122.9. How's that for a time?
That's pretty fast. I think the only person who put up a lap faster than that this afternoon was Ionch on the EU grid today.
Yeah, that sounds about right for Small Crime himself. I know he's debating joining us this evening. We'll see if that works. I do see Jump Raven now has loaded in about a minute ago and has now been in the pit for 30 seconds. So I'm going to say we might have that all set. Yep, yeah, sending messages too. So Jump Raven officially able to join the grid. Happy to see that work out. They've joined in the MX5 Cup, so that's going to be another one on that MX5 team. Thankfully, all the GT3s have set times, so we're able to see that it is 10 of them up against 12 MX5s. What a spread.
Yeah, I think it's actually an inverse of what we saw earlier today in the EU side. In the EU side, there was a little bit heavier on the GT3 side, and it definitely led to some extra chaos. So I'm excited to see what we have. We have a bit fuller grid tonight. It's going to be an exciting race.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely stacking up. We still have 11 minutes left of practice, not including overtime, and then the 15-minute qualifying. Now, you were there for the EU race. Do these guys head into the night at all during the race?
Yeah, towards the last couple 2-3 minutes of the race, the sun's pretty much down. It's almost pure dark. So it's gonna be a fun one.
Now, does that happen in qualifying as well? Will people get the message to bind their headlights, or should we maybe broadcast that?
We should probably give them a heads up and let them know, because I do recall it getting dark towards the end of qual.
All right, so on that note, we'll keep an eye on the Great Britain racer as I send that quick message out to everybody. I think I have to do it from race control, if I remember.
Looking at that clutch rust time there with the 22.986, he is only 0.03 of a second slower than Big Justice was this afternoon.
All right, so we put out a little bind headlights for the race message. Hopefully everybody is able to see it. The cars are not on a fixed setup, so everything is open for everybody to tweak. It's got a very wide set to the grid. Now, the MX-5s themselves, the Cup MX-5s, they don't have a ton of things you can change about them. They have a few small things, but that's why they're like a good learning car. The GT3s are much more open. There's a ton of tweaking that you can do there, and that really opens up the field for some action, which you guys will certainly see at play. I will say these McLarens are really taking off, and you're starting to see why we don't usually let anyone who's ranked in our expert classes use them for competitive events. Only the mid to low class racers, hate to say it that way, but are typically allowed to use those. Low speed racers, we'll say it like that. It sounds a little better, you know? As we broadcasters curse up trunks a little bit. So let's swing over just a little bit more. See who else is heading out on the grid. That one's going to be, I want to say Botlanda. Oh, sorry, actually Tater. And there he is. I was looking for Jump Raven in one of the Real Rookie Racing original liveries. This one was the unresponsive. Any racer who did not select a livery for our original MX5 seasons was bestowed with this beautiful thing as a reminder that they did not follow direction. We should bring that kind of a thing back.
Yeah, I mean a generic livery. I'm a huge fan of the Dookie Racer, as I always called it.
Oh, yeah, I forgot we put shame on the hood too. Wow, we nailed it with that one.
Oh yeah,
That's beautiful.
This one's definitely an icon.
Yeah. Well, I feel bad that Jump Raven got it because they didn't really do anything wrong. They were able to verify the integrity of the files and get in, but you know, it works. It's fine. It'll be okay.
Oh yeah, it'll be a fun race.
Oh wow, that McLaren
Nothing
comes in
wrong with
hot.
a little bit of brown.
Just a small code brown there as we see the noob racer swinging around. This one looks interesting. I don't know why the noob racer all of a sudden looks a little darker on my screen. I'm not sure if something happened with my CSP settings. The problem is my camera mod is somewhere off the screen, so I can't really fix it in that regard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Usually it's a more of a bright pink. So
It definitely, yeah, that's what I usually see. Where's that? Oh, there you go. I can do this. Let's see if that'll maybe fix it. Swing it back over to default. No,
no.
that makes it so much worse. I think, we're just gonna leave it like that. I think it looks good like the dark. What do you think?
Yeah, we'll just call it the plum today or something.
I have a feeling when the weather rolls over to the next batch, we'll really get to see it in action. Ooh, as this is what I was waiting for. A nice shot of how these GT3s have to navigate the MX5s on tight turns. And the more and more MX5s that hit the grid, the harder it's going to be for the GT3s. Now only 9 of them on the grid, as it looks like Trunks, I think, has switched over to the MX5.
One of the strange things that these guys are going to have to get used to tonight is that there is some turns here where the MX5 can actually go faster than the GT3s to the corner. One of those is actually the Andretti hairpin there, turn 2 technically, as well as the last corner going onto the straight. The MX5s can just carry a little bit more speed because they don't have to slow down as much.
Yeah, I've certainly noticed that.
And ironically, another spot that leads to absolute chaos is right here, turn 6, all the way up this straight here, because there's so much accelerations from these GT3s going through. I actually got pushed off the road earlier because we went 3 wide with 2 GT3s earlier in this afternoon.
Yeah, and that breaking point you could see is a massive difference. These GT3s don't want to be anywhere near the MX5s heading into that part of the track. That is going to be a tricky one. Very eager to see how that works out.
The only advice that I can give going into that turn there is for the MX5s to hold strong. The GT3s can take that line a little wider through there. And as long as the MX5s don't drift out all the way, it tends to lead to not too much chaos.
that makes me feel a little bit better, you know. As we see Trunks, I want to say, heading out in the Mogo number 74 MX5, working their way out onto the track. So they have definitely switched over from the GT3 class. I think feeling a little bit more comfortable with those MX5s. They seem like they might be, oh, I was going to say a little confused on the pit entrance, but nope, they were just adjusting some things as we head over to Seb Bellew, who seems to be the only man with a chance to contend against these McLarens here in race one, really pushing this Audi to its limits. 44 laps under their belt, 57 laps for Clutch Russ in P1, and Speed Bump floating up there with only 17. So really impressive display from Speed Bump at the moment.
Yeah, I'm just looking through the timing page here. It looks like Raven set up that 138.4, just about a 138.391, and I think that's a little bit faster than any of the MX5 times that we saw in the races today.
Yeah, Jump Raven showing some
Including
tremendous pace.
including the lap where Piaget got a push from the McLaren.
Really?
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
Actually, it looks like Piaget managed to get down to 138.2 in the second race today.
So with a
But
push from a GT3.
no, that was without.
Oh, without. Okay.
With the push, he had a 138.7.
Okay.
Because he ended up having so much overspeed into the hairpin that he couldn't slow down in time.
Honestly, that sounds about right. For what we are seeing here in that massive speed difference, I don't think these MX5s would be able to handle the full pace of that GT3 into a corner. As we've got Fudzy rocking the holy roller, always a nice one to see.
Yeah, it was actually really funny. Kiage managed to get engine damage from the push from the McLaren because he was just going too fast for his engine to handle it.
Wow, that's incredible. Carlos, so you can actually still join this one. There's no signups required for this type of event if you're free for tonight's. But we run races 6 days a week. So there's races every day this week. As far as this specific like 3,000 member celebration event, we have a shifter cart event on Wednesday, and then we do another multi-class one on Friday. Sorry if I'm a little late to answer you there. I just caught that. Fuzzy's showing some pretty solid pace there. You know, he's being carried by the Lord is really what I think it is. As we see Bullet joining in a Lamborghini, so that's what I was hoping to see. A few more just creeping in here on that GT3 squad. I want it to be at least 10 of them. I feel like that's a good number. That way they still have their event and obviously the fun of lapping the MX5s. Yeah, Carlos, it's an open event. Anyone's welcome to join these ones. There is a minute left of practice, but you have all 15 minutes left of qualifying to join. Just be warned, obviously, it's a very tricky event with a multi-class race, so you just have to be cautious and be aware. Obviously, there's going to be some incidents, but if you cause one, just kind of wait, pull off to the side, let the driver that you ran off get back on the grid. Don't do what just happened here with, I don't know whose fault that was. I didn't see how far out the GT3 was coming from. We do have some Lamborghinis left, so you are definitely welcome to join the GT3 grid. Looks like the slowest GT3 time on the board is a 127. The midfield's going to be in the 125s to high 124s. And then there's going to be a chase pack in the low 124s to high 123s, trying to chase down the McLarens. Josh on it with the text. That's probably a little bit quicker way to respond. Oof, look at that. That's the woohoo, man. McLaren goes whipping by. That's going to be Gandhi, I think. No, Deadly Daniel. Currently with that 127 we saw. I think Tom is just trying to bring it back to the pits here now at this point. And, you know, given that it's overtime, I think I'm going to switch over to the auto cam bounce around. Josh, any expectations here as this grid gets bigger and bigger, and I get gladder and gladder that we expanded it a little bit?
It is going to be absolute hell, but a fun hell. Um, the uh, the top of the GT3 class will lap the lead MX-5s at least twice throughout this race. So that gives you a little bit of a precedent to the pace difference here.
Wow.
And it is absolutely insane. Some of the dives that some of these guys go for. And it is a chaos race, right? The MX-5s and the GT3s pace difference and breaking points and handling is
It's
so
a
different
massive
that
one. Oh yeah.
they really don't belong on a grid together, but it's just so iconic for us to run these cars together.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you recall that one endurance race, was it MX-5s and Radicals? Was that the combo?
No, we ran the Volvo S40 and the Radical.
Didn't we do an MX-5 in one of the endurance events, I thought? Or maybe we were going to, and we did. I think we were going to. I think we had MX-5s, GT3s, and LMPs, but then we didn't get enough MX-5 signups, so we caught it. Or maybe it was a BTC sign up or TCR or something. I don't know. We've tried so many cars. You lose track.
We've ran so many combinations, but I mean, these are the ones that have stuck, right? GT3s, MX-5s. They are the cars that are around and will be around from now until we're done. So,
I mean, we're opening up the iRacing leagues with MX-5, right?
We're gonna go with the GR86 to start.
GR86, that's what it was.
They are roughly the same pace, a little bit faster than the MX-5s, but they are a car that could be put on track together with the MX-5s.
I believe Keanu Reeves actually races
those. He actually did. And I'm actually planning on picking one up here this fall. Just
for real.
Because it's a
nice.
4-seater sporty car, and my Jeep's dead. So
I mean, that seems like a good enough reason.
So I'm hoping to pick one up this fall, as long as everything works out, so it can sit and be a driveway princess.
Oh, I feel so bad. I'm stealing the best livery. Oh, that is a shame that it goes to the broadcast car, but we do have the Marlboro Mo, brought to us by Mo Powers, who should be joining us for a broadcast at some point this week. But one of my favorite MX-5 liveries that we've had. There's also a championship version of this with a gold label instead of red. And yeah, definitely one of the well done ones that we had here in our times.
Very, very iconic.
And I'm trying to see now if that issue has. Oh, look at that. That is the Hardcastle McCormick racer for Lockett, who most people won't even know that name.
That's the livery that I was in earlier. Was Lockett's livery.
Oh, was it? Nice.
Yep.
I don't see the new racer one. I'm looking for it, unless the person who was in it may have left. Yeah, I think so, because I'm not seeing it. Oh, there's a classic. That is the original base livery of Real Wiki Racing that disappeared, but it'll pop back in just a second here. That familiar blue and red of Photoshop. It looks like he's going to be driving that one. So that is a very nice car to see back out on the grid. No one ever chooses that one, obviously, given its generic nature, but that one was made by Fatal Freak, I think. Right? Is that correct? My lore up to date?
Yeah, I believe Fatal made some of our baseline liveries when we originally started. I know there was a lot of people putting together some of our basic ones. I know Sam was the original guy who came up with our original logos, which we used up until this most recent season, when we went with just a brand update across the board so that everything looks the same.
Yeah. So you can see a little bit more of the old logos on display at the moment, but That's just because we used a lot more of the vintage liveries on the server. There's probably a few of the newer ones. I think your Techly racer has the new one on it, right?
Yeah, yeah. I saw somebody was in my current livery. I believe that the Brett's Minnesota Wild livery is on the track as well.
It's definitely available. I haven't seen it in my out there.
It is
Well,
right
how
there.
about that? That's a newer one. I don't know if that has it somewhere on it. Doesn't
Uh,
look like
I
it
don't
does.
I don't think so.
Uh,
No.
was that a camera design
And
special?
the Minnesota Wild one is, yeah.
Uh,
Um, the this livery, my livery, is actually using the old Beckley logo,
oh yeah, there it is.
because it's from last year before we commissioned a rebrand or Cameron to do the full rebrand for us.
Ah, I see. I see. Just get through all the lore here as much as we can.
Yeah, we've been around for 2 years now, so there's quite a bit of it.
We see Brett now in the number 55 Locket Racer, so that's pretty solid. Looking at the grid, we'll get a better sense once all the times have locked in, but I think we're looking at 11 GT3s at the moment, so not too shabby on a grid of 25, uh, which is what it's going to come to by the time the 30-minute qualifying session is over. Is qualifying too long? Was it 30 minutes for the other one too?
It was 30 minutes for the other one as well, and it's probably for the best since it is a mixed grid qualifying.
Takes a
People are
while.
definitely going to have laps messed up. So hopefully people get happy with their lap and then they're content sitting in the pits and until everybody gets a lap in. But it is definitely a challenge to find a gap with this many cars on the track to get a full lap in.
Especially for those GT3s. I feel like MX5s, although even they have a little bit of a challenge because you don't really want to have your elbows out to just try and force a lap through on these GT3s because even their out laps are going to be pretty quick by comparison. See a nice little bit of stretch here. So who's going to be the lucky racer enjoying that? Oh, well, I was going to say breath of fresh air, but it looks like they didn't get to take too much use of it. And that'll be Mahatma Gandhi in the number 88 racer.
Yeah, it looks
Tommy
like he
Boy's
is on an
McLaren.
out lap, so his next lap will be the big one here.
Wow,
So it
this
does
race,
look like
this
he
is
is,
cool.
yeah, it does look like he is going to be one of the ones who does have a chance to get a solid lap in here.
Carlos, on the Discord, you just go to the fastest way is just go to server overview and join the MX5 open event server. That's where tonight's race is going to be hosted. You do have 25 minutes of qualifying, not 15, so a little bit more time than I mentioned earlier. Some breathing room. Squall Clutch Russ 123.1 as the starting time. That is tremendous pace, already ahead of, I want to say, everybody else at the end of that practice session.
Yeah, I think that Clutch was the only one who broke into the 22s during the practice. I'm pulling it up right now just to check. Looks like Speed Bump did manage to get slightly ahead with a 22.933.
Wow.
And to Clutch's 22.986.
That must have been like the last lap. I must have missed that one, but one hell of a lap from Speed Bump. Very curious to see how that shakes things out during the race, as we'll see those two battling it out. And Seb does seem to have pace enough to pick up some easy spots if they fight too hard. Tommy Boy too, with that 123.7 sitting on the board.
Yep. Yeah, the McLaren definitely has the pace advantage. There's certain corners here where the McLaren can just lift and go through. Meanwhile, all of the other cars need to brake. So there is definitely a bit of an advantage for that McLaren, but it should be some good racing regardless.
And speaking of good racing, it looks like Big Dean Energy and Seb Belly are going to do a little bit of a competitive qualifying here. Dean, I think, trying to catch a little bit of a draft to start his outlap. Not a bad plan when you've got this much of a grid. You know, it's very unlikely that anybody gets a perfect lap time. So every tenth you can get is going to count in the long run.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those situations where you have to pick your fight. Sometimes you need to sacrifice some time in one corner just to make sure that you get through that lap clean. If anyone can manage to get some open air, they have a very clear advantage in qualifying. One thing to note is that the second race tonight is reverse grid, and the GT3s will actually be starting behind the MX5s. And it led to some absolute chaos at the start of the second race this afternoon.
Wow,
I'm excited to see it from an outside perspective.
especially given how many MX5s we're seeing. Now that there are laps on the board, we can confirm 11 GT3s out of 25 racers. So that will be a big, big grid for those guys to try and get through. And, you know, we're thinking about the cross class chaos, but when there's that many MX5s, they're going to have some chaos of their own that the GT3s will have to try and avoid.
Yeah, and I mean, uh, the GT3s are also likely going to get into some incidents amongst each other, and the slower class will need to avoid that as they come flying up. Um, because while there is a fairly big pace advantage when they're ironing out the positions in that first lap, the pack does stay pretty close up until probably sector 3 after the corkscrew.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this much with how things are shaping up. I think we're going to have a very cinematic race here in today's event. I'm very excited to see how it
And
all turns out.
looks like we found that new racer again here.
Yep. In the black and pink, can confirm whatever's going on with it. Not fixed on my end, but that's okay.
Looks like he got a little rusty or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's just took a little trip in the sand as we see the USA McLaren of Clutch Russ waiting for some of these guys attempting hot laps to go by. True gentlemen. Although that gentleman's going to have to get moving as Speed Bump has found his way into the 23.7s, so found a little bit of space somewhere on the track. Tommy Boy also with a 23.7 watching him now. Seems to only have one awkward class car to get by, but oh, he's going to be passing in a very weird spot. And thankfully, I think that MX5 sees it coming and lets him go by. So Tom on one hell of a push lap now needs to shave off half a second somewhere and is not trending in the right direction just yet. We'll see what he makes of the corkscrew. Seems like he's taking an almost identical, well, I was going to say almost identical lap to his fastest one, but loses some time there through turn 9. Tries to find it back in turn 10 and 11, but I don't think this is going to be the competitive lap Tom was searching for as he tries to follow Speed Bump ahead, who is not able to put up a new fast time himself. This is tough, man. I got to give these guys credit. I can't even say where I'd be landing on the grid if I was going up against all this chaos around me.
Watching Tommy go through that Andretti hairpin, it showed exactly what I was talking about earlier. Though that MX5 carried the same amount of speed through that entire corner as the Lamborghini. It is the MX5 takes a much tighter line through here, so it takes about the same amount of time to go through the corner as it does for those GT3s.
Yeah, we'll see if we can capture that. I think we might get this McLaren. Might be a little too far off. Oh, this could be good right behind it, though, with that Audi and that MX5.
Yeah, we can see the Audi close in.
And then fall away.
The GT3s have to take a little bit wider line and hold that left side coming out of the hairpin. Otherwise, they get stuck on the inside because the MX5 can't go anywhere. We see a little bit of headlight flashing from an MX5 towards the GT3.
I wasn't going to comment on it, but yeah, you know, things get tense here when there's raffle tickets on the line, my friend. You know, iRacing subscription in the works. I can't even remember what all
Yeah,
we had.
we got some
T-shirts.
t-shirts.
Uh,
Yep.
uh.
Something about a trading card.
Oh yeah, the custom
Um,
one for the grand winner with the
yep.
custom livery on it and everything.
Yep. And then I think we're gonna stockpile the secret that I have now until at the next big event for another giveaway. I might use it for a while and
I
see
like
if
that.
I want to give it up.
That I like as we see Thorn heading out. Thorn currently with a 126 in the Audi, so ahead of Deadly Daniel and Gandhi in those McLarens, but trying to catch up to the Ferrari squad, who is holding very tight together. Only 2 tenths separating all three of them.
That's just impressive, especially in the kind of traffic that they're dealing with tonight.
I wonder if they are all sharing setups together and have just really found a way to push that. Tater closing that down even more now within 2 tenths of Lando ahead. They're trying to bring Seb into this mix now, as he's within a half second of him.
Yeah, knowing our community, I'm sure there is a bit of setup sharing going around. I mean, the first thing I did when I jumped in and was messing around was I threw that setup in the chat. That was good to me this afternoon, just so everybody had some place to start from. Um,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'm sure some of the guys already had setups, but I'm sure if we went through and we scrolled through the chat history, we'd see quite a few setups being shared through.
Yeah,
We
that's
do
a
see Bullet joins
tradition.
back in, so we do have that Lamborghini back on the grid as well. So.
Very nice, very nice. I was hoping that they would at least stick with a GT3 of sorts. Looks like it's going to be the Lamborghini, so that is nice to see. We'll try and jump in now with a few of the MX-5s. I feel like I've been doing a little bit of too much focus on those GT3s, but we got Tom York making his way up through turn 6 towards the hairpin, currently with a 145. So part of the looks like 5 racers trying to work their way into those 42s, 41s, where that competitive pack is going to be for tonight's event. Another impressive tight bunching in the MX5s going on in that 41 squad.
Yeah, I feel like there's some pretty competitive groupings here in the MX5. This is kind of similar to how it was with the EU race earlier today. It was two of us out ahead a little bit. It was me and Kiage, and then everybody else seemed to have somebody to race with the entire time. So hopefully we see some good racing. Hopefully there's not too much chaos. Sometimes the GT3s get a little impatient and get in the way of some MX5 fights, but you just got to take it and roll with it.
We already see a few mentions in the chat of zoning out, forgetting it was multi-class. That's going to be the trick tonight, is even when you don't see anyone in your grouping around, you have to watch out for that other class, whether it be coming up in front of you around a tight turn or coming up behind you. I mean, with the speed these GT3s go through that corkscrew, if they're not aware that there's the MX5 sitting at the bottom, we're going to have some problems.
Yeah, I mean, looking at just the top speeds that we see, the GT3s are anywhere in the 230 range, right? 230 kilometers an hour. But the highest speeds that we're seeing out of these MX5s on that long straight is only 172. Now, coming into that Andretti hairpin, there is a 50 kilometer an hour, a 60 kilometer an hour difference between these cars. Not to mention, every single one of these short straights, the acceleration that those GT3s have is an immediate threat to any MX5 in the way. So it is really going to be a survival class from the MX5s, and from the GT3s, it is going to be all about patience and picking your times. It doesn't matter if you're the fastest car on the track, if you're just putting it into or being on the receiving end of a contact between classes here.
Very nice. Well, that's going to be an exciting show here to see just how that awareness comes into play. I mean, the cards are all on the table now. Everybody's starting to see just what their co-competitors are aware of. They're starting to see just how dangerous it is having these mixed class grids on a track like this. So hopefully everyone's head's on a swivel. Hopefully everyone's got radars up, got Jim to let them know, maybe a Delta monitor, the whole nine here, because you are going to want to just be aware. The more information you have, the better, which could be a little overwhelming for some of our rookie racers. But, this is how you got to test it every once in a while,
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that's pretty funny is that Jim can't actually differentiate the two classes here because the MX-5 doesn't have an actual class associated with it, so it treats everything on the track as the same class. So regardless of if it's a GT3 that flies past an MX-5 after a spin, or an MX-5 that ends up passing a GT3 car,
Hmm.
he thinks that all of the cars are racing against each other. So if
What do you
if
mean
these
he
guys are
thinks?
using crew chief,
They are.
if
You
these
are
guys are
racing
using crew
everybody
chief,
on the track at all times. That's the rule. But anyway, if they're using crew chief,
if they are using crew chief, Jim will yell at them for letting a GT3 get away.
that's the motivation that I need in my life. Let's be honest. If it was any professional driver, they would have the same mentality of, I don't care what you're in, I'm going to find a way to beat you on the track. Even if they know it's impossible, there's probably still a little part of them that thinks they can do it.
But hey, they don't call it a battering ram for nothing, right?
Yep. And speaking of battering rams and impossible, check out Clutch for Us with a 122.6 as their current qualifying time. They must have found a neat enough stretch and just threaded that needle perfectly, but they get by with a whopper of a lap to really set the tone here in the final 12 minutes of qualifying before our two events.
That lap time is faster than the fastest lap in EU, by a whole 300ths of a second.
Yeah, I mean, that is an insane pace from Clutch for Us. Probably enough to where we see small crime debating just a last minute login. Ash, if you're watching, you might as well. You got to defend your crown because right now, Clutch for Us is making it look easy.
Yeah, Clutch Runs has beaten El Garrido's time from this afternoon.
Like I said, making it look easy as we see a neat little rejoin here from Bullet in one of my favorite GT3 liveries that we've had, the pop art style one here. This
Yeah,
thing
this
is beautiful.
yeah this Lambo is absolutely gorgeous.
As I was looking to see if there's a racer name on it, but I don't see any Discord names that I'm familiar with. I was this Fuzzy maybe that put this on the server? I don't remember fully.
I cannot recall. I know it was in one of the community showcase books, so that is something that has been around since Fuzzy. So it's definitely possible that this is Fuzzy's livery.
Well, absolutely a stellar one as Speed Bump knows he's not on a hot lap, just trying to stick with that Lamborghini for the moment, maybe line himself up for a draft down the main straightaway as he's shaved a 10th off, but needs to shave a second off from there. Speed Bump now looking for the pass on Bullet, going to go try and make their way in for a hot lap. Jump Raven sharing their setup with less than 10 minutes to go. The lights on for our GT3 grid as we start to head into the evening portion of the qualifying session. Ooh, big difference of breaking point there as Speed Bump manages to really slingshot out of that corner and gain a couple thousandths on their time. But now comes the big stretch. This is where they need to buckle in. It's a long series of corners here once they enter sector 2. And this is where all the time can be made up. Off to a rough start to begin with and have a little bit of traffic ahead, but we'll see what they can do with the task at hand. I think broadcaster's curse is kicking in. What do you think?
Well, he is definitely down, but he is gaining some time back on this uphill climb here into the corkscrew. We'll see what he can pull up. He did have the fastest lap in practice, so it is possible that he can bring this straight up to clutch reps. Speed bump is definitely tried and true during the race. Even qualifying from the back, he tends to stay out of trouble. So,
And you see just a little bit of off-track action there. A couple of racers going for the no headlights option. I'm going to assume we'll see some heading back out to maybe find their light buttons, so to speak. Get the headlights dialed in.
yeah,
Yep.
and it is possible that they are running the CSP, the pure setting, to force headlights on all the time. So it's a possibility that they are seeing their headlights on, but we don't see them on because they're not officially turned on.
Yeah, and that is going to be an interesting one on the track. Just especially the darker it gets, some of these GT3s coming up on MX5s in the dark with no headlights. I'm assuming that led to some interesting moments in our EU events today.
None that I can recall, but I do recall people having to jump out when it got dark towards the end of qualifying in order to bind their headlights. One thing that we may want to keep in mind for Friday is that we can force headlights on from the server side.
Yep, I was actually just thinking about that. We might start doing that. Just so they're on. I only worry about when someone's flashing for informational purposes, but
So the flashes still show even with
okay,
headlights flipped on. So
that's good.
that's a different command that gets sent in.
Well, in that case, we should be good. Wow. I don't know if it's because it's nighttime in the server. All of a sudden, I got really tired.
That's probably a combination. It's Monday.
Just start singing Le Mans, Spanish Broadcast Team Edition. It was a bop. I don't want to hear it. So worth noting, Brett Anderson's found his way into the low 139s. Who do we got here? Sam GT3 in the 139.6, so not too far either. So it'll be very interesting to see if those guys are able to keep up with Jump Raven, or at least keep close enough to take advantage of any multi-class mishaps, we'll call it. As Sam's a little bit harder to see, so we're going to kind of bounce over to one of our other racers on the grid. We'll see Mahatma Gandhi now, currently heading around in P8 with a 124.7, made his way much, much closer to that Ferrari squad. Only 2/10 away from joining the fun. Lando, though, has separated himself a little bit more and really brought Seb Bellew into the mix. 5 minutes left to qualifying now in the dark. This is going to be where times I don't think really improve. At this point, they're probably more just out there for informational purposes. I'm guessing that we're going to see some changes in tires. We're going to see, fuel, all sorts of things. Everyone just kind of testing what they want to do for the race.
Yep. During the cool down phase of qualifying, as I like to call it, before, after 10 minutes of qualifying's been done and up until the final 5 minutes, I tend to see people just going out with their race fuel and testing out to make sure that the race is, or that they're ready for the actual race session. And then they'll end up throwing up that hot lap with the last 5 minutes left in the session. As this session winds down, I will step away briefly and grab a drink and stuff. So if you want to let them know, in the app shelf,
Mm-hmm.
they can in the app shelf they can pull the extended controls app,
Mm-hmm.
and then they can add that light bind without leaving the game.
I can do that too.
I suppose I could probably log in and do it as well. Again.
We see 3 racers have currently left, and it looks like they're all going to be finding that anyways, as I eventually shared, but I did not share it soon enough. I want to just go through some of my binds real quick, see if I can remember which one does what. Ooh, that was
I'm gonna step away and grab a Red Bull here real quick while this winds down, and then be ready to broadcast the absolute chaos that's going to be these race 1 and 2. It won't be nearly as dark in the race, as the race is only 20 minutes
Mm-hmm.
and the qualifying session is 30. So it is a lot less nighttime in the actual race session itself.
Okay, that makes more sense. Well, a little bit of nighttime never hurt anybody. I'm just messing around with all the little keybinds now, see exactly what I can do with them.
Yep, and I will be back in just a minute.
All right, I'm gonna stop dicking around with that, and we'll head on out. We got 1 minute and 27 seconds left. We find ourselves back with Gandhi, who, again, you can't see it here at the end of qualifying, but you will be able to see for the race itself. Just give it a little bit of time to roll over. I know the headlights aren't the best display of what's going on. Let's see if maybe I can switch up the filter for you guys as well. Maybe that will help out. I don't know if that even did anything. Right? Yeah, none of that changed anything. So we're just going to leave it as is. And we're going to wait for the time to roll over. And I'm going to say that I tried. That's what really matters. Mahatma Gandhi, though, heading out for one more lap as we see a few other racers trying to get out. Thorne currently, I think at this point, just heading out to try and ease in and get another sense of the track. Not going to be having enough time to get a hot lap in, but we'll get some time to at least try and dial in a few more corners. Ooh, as a tough spin goes not in their favor. We're now on with Bullet in the Lamborghini, whose lights you can barely make out here in the dark. This is where we really just need the internal cams so you can really see what these guys are going through as they make their way around some of the corners. Bullet finds themselves into a 126.8, so they're pretty close to Thorne and Deadly Daniel. Those 3 are going to have a little bit of a battle of their own if they can't see any more improvement, as we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 racers in the 124 squad. Tommy Boy, Speed Bump, and Seb Value all in the 123. Seb Value only beating Speed Bump by 11 hundredths of a second. And then there's Clutch Russ all the way ahead. Then down in the MX5 groupings, Jump Raven leading the pack by over a second to Brett Anderson, who's got almost a half second to Sam GT3, with another almost full second to the rest of the grid. So some big gaps up top. But Then we've got Pogo and Tough Racer, who's not too far ahead, left sync handle. And Brewhop, Fudzy, and Megami will be having a battle of their own. And we have yet to really see what Photoshop, Tom York, Scrub, Trunks, and Catch Cold are made of. So I would not be surprised if they surprise us in these races. And keep in mind, we've got two events. First one is going to be based on the qualifying standings you're seeing in front of you. But the second one will be a reversed grid based on the finishing order. So you are going to see those MX5s up at the top of the field, and the GT3s trying to work their way through. So that's where things are going to get a little bit interesting, and we'll see just how patient some of these guys are. This race is going to be one of, you know, skill and determination, but race 2 will absolutely be a battle of patience for those top class GT3 guys who are not only behind the MX5s, but behind the rest of the GT3 grid, as it is a true reverse grid, top to bottom. So due in for some fun. And this is only one of the 3 races that we're running this week, so really just a test of some more chaos to come. The shifter cart on the cobblestone is the next batch on Wednesday. I'm starting to think we might need to set up a second server with how many racers we are seeing in the event here, but we'll burn that bridge when we get there.
Yep, for the shifter cart, we definitely might. I think the Watkins Glen track does have 43
That one we should be
drift spots
fine.
available. So
I know Jazz was familiar with how to extend the pit boxes on a track and launch that. I will have to double check with them about how that works out.
yeah, I believe he does. I believe Speed Bump also knows how, so we could always reach out to him as well.
Yeah, certainly thinking that might be in our best interest, but as everything starts to dial back, the sun will reset before the race does, and we'll get everybody talking about fuel, lights, the whole nine for the first race.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what comes here. It's going to be a fun race. We have 24 cars on the track, one currently disconnected who may be returning. So we'll see the others come.
Yeah, I forgot I took out the FIA in my name, so it always looks less official now. They probably just think I'm some guy talking shit.
Yeah, maybe I should update the name of my account or log in with something other than the actual admin account sometime.
You know, we do what makes us happy. And speaking of what makes us
It's
happy,
just auto saved. So
a brand new grid on a brand new track always makes me happy as we see Clutch Russ at the top of the order. 40 seconds to the lights. Let's take a quick little peek. We've got Clutch Russ up top, followed by looks like this got moved. Hang on a minute. So
yep.
we got Clutch Russ, followed by Sebastian Bellew, then Speed Bump, Tommy Boy, Bot Lando, Big Dean Energy, Tater, Mahatma Gandhi, Deadly Daniel, and Thorn, followed by Bullet. Then we've got the MX5 grid of Jump Raven, Brett Anderson, Sam GT3, Pogo, Tough Racer, Left Sync Handle, Fudzy, Mega Mew, Photoshop, Tom York, Scrub Trunks, and Catch Cole. But first, we have to make it through turn 1, and the GT3s are looking to do just that as we go 4 wide off the bat, a little further in the grid, quickly correcting themselves to only 3, but that's still going to give them some tough turns into the beginning section here. We'll see how they make
Already
way.
got cars jumping out of the way. The MX5s are going to close in here, going through the Andretti hairpin into turn 3. They just carry a little bit more speed and they don't have to slow down as much. We do have chaos already in the GT3s as the MX5s make their way past the GT3 cars.
Yeah, that is going to be a tricky one. Mahatma Gandhi finds himself in a tricky spot, but not as bad as a spot as Bullet, who will be the first GT3 to have to make their way through traffic and in a peculiar moment, because lap one is where those cars are really going to be pushing. We do see a little bit of contact with some of the MX5 racers who are really pushing each other behind, but Gandhi has broken through at a pivotal point, and Jumper even able to get by. We see a pretty good single file line up until this main pack here. So how will they fare with this big turn? We see a lot of cars trying to make it through. Everybody kind of stays on relatively. And we see Bullet trying to weave through there off in the distance. We're going to catch up a little bit as Bullet is being extremely patient and really not trying, I was going to say to do anything dangerous, but the net code gets him. It wasn't anything they were doing on purpose. Bullet ends up sending out Tom York and I want to say Trunks as well, who now find themselves at the back of that MX5 field. We're going to jump up just a little bit to Tommy Boy, really applying the pressure to Seb Bellew to try and push their way back up to the fight for P2. Tater in the Ferrari and Lando in the Ferrari. They're not letting up.
Yeah, and all it takes in these sprints is one mistake to lose your momentum and bring you down the field. I do anticipate seeing some of these GT3 cars ending up back with those MX5s at some point just from pushing so hard. Whether it's in this race or the next one, I do see the multi-class madness is definitely going to play a part in this race.
I mean, it's worth mentioning it is 32 degrees Celsius on the track. That is a much hotter temperature than these GT3 cars typically race in on our servers. So I don't think these guys who are on the soft tires are really as used to that as they think they are. As we get a little glimpse of Bullet working his way through a few more MX5s. So you see just how many of them there are. One mistake, and it took Bullet a lap and a half to get up to these top cars. And now he gets to cause a little bit of fun. I think these guys are going to be hoping that Bullet passes Jump Raven at an inopportune moment, maybe brings him back to the grid a little bit. But Jump Raven, a bit of a professional, I don't know that they'll get that lucky. Trying to keep an eye on some of these close gaps here. We do see Lando still trying to apply a little bit of pressure to Tater in that orangish Ferrari. That might be a jealousy thing, because I know Lando always prefers to be in the orange car when he can get it.
Yeah, he tends to run those orange liveries. We do see there's less than a sector difference between the front of the GT3s and the back of the MX-5 right now.
Oh, as Clutch Russ with the hot tires spins out after going off track. This is going to be a very costly one. Now finds a little bit of a gap to Deadly Daniel and will try and take advantage, but has a long ways to go to make it all the way back up the grid. That will be a tricky one, but will provide us with a little bit of entertainment, as these GT3s are already only a straightaway from the back of the MX5 class. So you weren't kidding. They really come up on these guys quick.
Yeah, the front of the GT3 pack, or the front of the MX5 pack, either the Jump Raven, Brett, I anticipate seeing them lapped at least twice during this race.
And that will just make these guys race a little bit closer together. We see Lando looking for the way past, not being able to find it easily, as Clutch Russ and Gandhi doing a little bit of side-by-side battling of their own. But it looks like Gandhi comes out on top heading into turn one. I know we've been paying a lot of attention to these GT3s, but that's just because these MX5s have really been holding a steady gap to each other since the end of that lap one. We are
Looks
just
like
waiting.
Did have a little bit of a moment in the Andretti hairpin again. He's fallen back a little bit further here.
But to his advantage, it looks like Deadly Daniel might have as well, as Daniel trying to get back on the move, as we can tell in the live timings, and not able to before Clutch Russ gets back around, but will be able to get moving well before Bullet makes it around the corner. Now cutting that lead down to only 8 seconds for Bullet, so Bullet will be happy to see that. as we have the moments we've been waiting for. So these GT3s now coming up on the MX5 class, and this is where things are going to get interesting, especially when you've got someone like Tommy Boy breathing down your neck. You'll have to make the most of it.
Yeah, I'm not seeing too close of fights right now between the MX5s themselves. Brett is pretty close, or Sam is pretty close to Brett. Anything under that second mark, the GT3s can be the difference maker in these races.
Yeah.
The battle for position in those MX5s.
Yeah, and we see a lot of that clutch rust going off once more, this time into the final turn before the straightaway. I think those tires are just getting very, very worn very quickly in this hot temperature, mixed with some of those spins. That is the danger with running softs, which we see clutch currently is. Oh, is this going to be an
Yeah,
interesting moment? Oh, but manages to weasel through as
this
we almost
Tommy
saw some
boy
crazy contact. Sorry.
manages to part. Let's see. Yeah, and there we just see the acceleration difference between these cars. If the GT3s can handle just a little bit of patience, we see a big incident going off wide in the back there. If the GT3s have just a little bit of patience going through the corners, those MX5s don't have the speed to get in their way going into the next corner. So it's really just a point of picking your attack point at the exit of the corner rather than trying to dive bomb these cars going in.
Yeah, now we do see Sam getting ahead of Brett in Brett's own livery. So that's going to be motivation for Brett more than ever to really get the hammer down and try and keep up with that Minnesota Wild racer. It is going to be a point of pride as we head into the final 12 minutes. Speaking of final 12 minutes, it looks like this Ferrari squad has found their way back together as they work their way towards the next group of MX5 traffic. It is really a clean race between the three of them and quite a sight to see.
Yeah, I love seeing these Ferraris bunched up. Usually they're not quite as competitive, but this type of a track definitely speaks to the agility that the Ferrari and the McLaren have to offer. Uh, I do enjoy seeing that Lamborghini up at the front here. It is generally better on the high speed courses, so it's really impressive to see Tommy Boy fighting at the front in that car.
Yes, we see these guys causing all sorts of fun over here. Brett Anderson managed to squeak by Sam GT3 as Big Dean Energy looks to do the same on Botlando. Shoves him just a little bit, but Botlando was looking for a rejoin, so overall that's going to be a clean one. We'll try and peek over and see, and it looks like it might have been a little GT3 action that caused Sam to lose the spot to Brett Anderson. So we'll see if he is able to make that up at any point. Absolutely going to be an interesting final half of the race here as we see more and more of these racers kind of getting stuck or getting caught up in the chaos.
Yeah, and we do see currently Sam's fastest lap is a second faster than Brett here. So he definitely has the pace to bring it back to Brett with that fight. It really just depends on where those GT3s end up catching them.
As we see Fudzy making a move past left sync handle here, working their way towards turn 6. That's going to be a tricky spot to lose your momentum in, and I know they'll be feeling it. Speaking of lose momentum, wow! I'm not entirely positive what we just turned into. It looked like there was a little bit of contact based on the live timings, and Botlando let Dean get by. So I'm guessing the MX5 caused some unwanted carnage, but that is one tricky situation. Of course, as soon as we leave the battle, Sam gets back in front of Brett Anderson again.
Yeah, it's definitely
Oh,
some
there they
pretty
are.
close fights here between some of the cars. So, well, one of the biggest things to pay attention to here is the MX5s don't really have the option to jump out of the way. they have very strict lines that they need to take through a track like this. Uh, Otherwise, they just lose so much time. We do see that sausage curve come into play uh, into turn three sometimes, and that loses so much speed in these MX-5s because it's flat out all the way down here into turn five.
And you can really see that now with Brett eating up the back of Sam's car, getting into a very competitive spot, heading towards turn 6. But Sam able to get a little bit of a better turn through 5. And I think that'll be enough to save him up the hill, barring any misfortune, which he does not find. Clutch Russ, though, finds a position now working his way into P9, 1 second separating himself and Thorn ahead. So we're going to tune up a little bit just to another three-way GT3 battle. Bullet having a little bit of netcode issues, so it's going to be interesting to see where they actually are in relation to the fight ahead. But why don't we just jump to the fight ahead and let that one play out?
I mean, the lag there definitely had a sweet drift for Bullet going through turn five. So, I mean, there's a highlight for it, but it's a little inconvenient being on the track. We do have the phasing in place when the cars jump, but it doesn't always kick in immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Only after we see the jump. So,
Let me see Yanni. Ooh, I was going to say looking for a move on Trunks, but goes for a dive almost to the outside. But I think threw Trunks off just enough to get that position back. Thorn ends up going off the track and teleports to the pits. I'm not entirely positive what the full situation was there, but we did see that was shortly after Clutch Russ was working their way past. So not sure if those two ended up with some sort of an incident. Do see Tom York, I was going to say, may have had a little bit of an incident with Mega Mew up ahead. Ended up on the back foot through the corkscrew and now has a few GT3s trying to get around him. That is going to be a tricky one. Looks like Thorn in maximum frustration mode based on the agagagas in the chat. As Botlando now working his way past Tom to get by. Let's see, Brett Anderson, a little bit of contact with Mahatma Gandhi, so some cross-class action. And that's going to be the saving grace for Sam with 7 minutes remaining, given the difference or similarities in their recent lap time, because Brett now has a bigger fish to fry. Pogo going to be right there. That's going to be a tricky one. I almost thought we were going to see a little bit of a GT3 push there. Tough Racer looking for a move on Fudzy. These guys going a little head-to-head down the main straightaway. That Noob Racer versus the Holy Roller. These guys very evenly matched on their exit, but Tough with that inside lane is going to get a shorter distance to the corner and will come out in front. Can he break a little early? Or sorry, I was going to say a little late, but he broke a little too late and proved me wrong in both ways. So that will give the advantage to Fudzy once more, as Tougher will try and go for the switchback heading into turn 4. They do have the GT3 of Deadly Daniel bearing down behind them, and Daniel will try and use the straightaway to open up if he can get free of that sand, which he does. But Tough now going to have to reset and find a new way by. Ooh, as Deadly goes into the sand. And we'll have to get moving once more. Thankfully, GT3s have already lapped these guys, so Deadly's in a decent spot, you know? Oh.
yeah, I think the entire field's been lapped at least once so far. It looks like Jump Raven shows a 1-lap gap to Deadly Daniel here. So we will see where these guys end up overall. Yeah, it looks like Jump Raven has a 1-minute gap to the back of the GT3s at this time.
Ooh, as we've got a little bit of a spin from Tough Razor here. Going to be trying to get back on the track, but it'll be a tricky spot to rejoin as There's a large portion of mixed grid incoming, including some of the lead GT3 cars who they're not going to want to interfere with. They do get on and out of the way of that Lamborghini of Tommy Boy, and just enough time to get back on the hunt, but that will be a tricky spot to make something happen with. Speaking of tricky spots, looks like Trunks was going for a move in the corkscrew and was not able to get past Photoshop. In fact, loses a little bit of acceleration. We'll have to reset up to make that move. Once more, Clutch Russ and Gandhi fighting their way through the corkscrew. Wow, that seems to be where all the fun is today.
Yeah, the corkscrew is definitely one of those corners where the biggest dive bombs happen. It's also unbelievably satisfying when you end up going side by side through there.
Oh, as we see Gandhi going into the pits.
Wonder if he either underfueled or needs new tires.
Yeah, I mean, this is, like we said, one of those races your tires can definitely burn up if you're pushing too hard on the softs. 32 degrees Celsius with only a 5 km/h wind, so not a lot to even help you cool it down, is a tough one to come from. You see Tougher Racer with a retirement of the car. A little odd given where they were in the overall standings. But hopefully we'll see them rejoin. Or race 2. As multi-class action getting a little bit interesting here towards the end. Starting to see some weird gaps forming. As Gandhi heading out of the pits now has to try and catch up to Sam GT3. See Big Dean Energy flashing the lights, trying to catch up to Tater ahead, maybe even showing that he's got a chance to bring that Ferrari love back together once more. We're going to look around a little bit more at some of the other battles going on. I mean, we can look at Speed Bump up ahead. Just with the calm, cool pace up there, 3.3 seconds ahead of Seb Bellew, who's 5.5 away from Tommy Boy. And now with the way that this MX5 portion of the grid is spread out, it's not really, there's not a lot of space to make up a ton of time. I mean, Josh is someone who raced. Oh, you're good. I was gonna say, as someone who raced this earlier, what at this stage in the race, is there really a lot these GT3s can do?
Well, looking at the gaps ahead, it looks like Tater and Big Dean definitely still have a fight going on there for P4. But the rest of them are pretty spread out. The only thing they can really do is hope for a mistake.
We see a little bit more cross-class contact between Gandhi and Megamew this time. Very tricky spot to get by. I'm going to jump over to Deadly Daniel because he seems to be going down the gauntlet of MX5 cars. So that'll give us a good view as we head towards the final minutes of the race of some of these cars still looking to fight. Ooh, as we see the number 13 car heading off the track. And we find ourselves right behind Brett Anderson.
We do see some pretty small gaps between some of these GT3s. It looks like Fudzy's only a 10th behind left sync handle right now, going down that straight with a little bit of a bump draft.
And that's an interesting move. I don't know that I would be bump drafting, given there may only be one lap left, possibly two. You're going to want to be getting that position back here before the race is over, if you can.
Yeah, so on a long straight like that, though, sometimes that bump draft can be more beneficial for the attacking car than it is for the defending car. Just carrying that extra overspeed, being the attacker, you usually slow down a little bit earlier so you can carry a bit more speed into the corner, unless you're going for that dive bomb. It can cause a lot of overspeed for that leading car, which can end up bringing them into a position where they are just completely uncomfortable entering the corner.
Yeah,
not to mention this right here, Fudzy's going to get that spot back.
Yeah, that was a great move. A lot of speed to carry.
Turn 6, you lose so much time if you don't hit that corner perfectly.
Oh, and it looks like that's going to be it. I thought we were tuning in for a little bit more of a shootout, but Brett Anderson not able to get that final position on Sam at the line there. One hell of a battle to the end. It looks like Sam might have had a little bit of an incident with one of the GT3s, and that gave Brett a little bit of a breathing moment, but not able to close that gap given the flickering of the lights. Left sync handle working his way down the final straight now to round things out. Not able to get back on Fudzy in the final moments. We see Scrub coming through, followed relatively closely behind by Bullet. I think it looks like we got a little bit of that netcode issue going on. That's why you can see that flashing blue, but man, does it look pretty.
Yeah, at least you can see the car, right?
Yeah, exactly. And to wrap things up, we do have Photoshop and Catch Cold working their way around. That's going to be one of the Audis there, finishing up their victory lap. But Photoshop wrapping it up in P1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for the MX5s, followed by Catch Cold in a solid P8. So one
Yep,
more
looks like we
racer to
only have
go.
one more car following up. He was a late joiner, so he'll have a strong starting position for the next race here.
Yeah, that'll be a nice little starting grid for race 2. Reverse grid is certainly going to be interesting. I have to go through and do all of the standings for the tickets and stuff at some point. But looking forward to this. This is going to be an interesting one. So explain how race 2 went for the EU boys.
So, race 2 in the EU grid earlier today, they ended up the GT3s at the back of the field ended up getting boxed in by some of the MX5s. There was absolute chaos into the Andretti hairpin and into turn 3, just trying to the GT3s were just trying to get through so that they didn't have to sit behind, because if they can't get through prior to Andretti and prior to turn 3, they have to wait all the way down to turn 5 before they can get past these cars.
Damn, that's a very long stretch for a very high difference in acceleration out of those tight corners. Corners themselves aren't too bad, but you lose a lot of speed in that other part.
Yeah. Yeah, because the MX5s, it's a slight lift into turn 3, and then it's flat out all the way to turn 5. Meanwhile, the GT3s, other than the McLaren, have to kiss their brakes into each of these corners.
Just a little love tap, though. Yeah, so just a reminder to everybody watching, this is part 1 of a 3-part race series this week. We got the shifter carts on the cobblestone track this Wednesday, followed by another multi-class special with a different class of GT3 cars on Friday. I think walk-ins with these will be pretty nice. That bus stop is going to be insane with the MX-5s and the GT3s. They're absolutely going to have to practice respectful racing.
Yeah, definitely. I think it'll be a little bit different. Watkins is a little bit wider and has a couple more attacking vectors for these GT3s to get through cleanly. So
yeah, I mean, this is definitely one of the more narrow tracks. I was actually watching the King of the Baggers here this weekend. I don't know if it was here. I think it was actually the 2024 Cup that I was watching, but it was absolutely one hell of a race the way that those guys moved through the corkscrew on those bikes. But enough about two wheels. Let's focus on the 4 in front of us. We've got Scrub, Megamew, Tom York, Trunks, Catch Cold, Photoshop, Left Sync Handle, Fudzy, Pogo, Brett Anderson, and Sam GT3 in the MX5s. Couple of disconnects in the process. Followed behind by Muhammad Gandhi, Deadly Daniel, Bullet, Clutch Russ, Spot Lando, Big Dean Energy, Tater, Tommy Boy, Seb Bellew, Speed Bump, Max Yang, Thorn, Jump Raven, and Base Cannon. So wait a minute, Jump Raven switching it up for race 2. and
Yeah, it
Base
looks like
Cannon
he's in
late joiner, both of
the
them in the
Audi.
Audi.
Yep. And it looks like there were some tire changes. We do see uh, some of those soft runners switch to the mediums. So,
So we do see tires were a little bit of an issue for some of those guys, and we already see that chaos off to the races behind. Wow, this is going to be interesting as we see
five,
chaos
six
all
wide.
around. This is it. This is the big one as we have a blockade in the track. Only the patient will make it through as we see quite a few guys trying to get on. Oh, and that's going to be a little bit more chaos as a dangerous rejoin continues the trend. You are not kidding about the way down into the Andretti hairpin as we've got spins into turn 2 now. Another blockade is going to cause some more fun for the grid trying to pass by. And the more of this chaos that happens, the longer that we have this GT3 on MX5 conflicts.
Yeah, and it looks like Botlando and Mahatma Gandhi got through clean as well as Clutch Ross.
We're going to try.
So they are in a good position to grab a handle on this race right now.
Oh, as we see Seb Bellew getting clipped here, uh, this time taking out a few MX5s with himself in the process. We'll move up a little bit further. Do we see some more? And no, I think we finally have some clean racing going on up ahead. We'll see how these guys make it through turn 6. But man, as the GT3s finally figure themselves out and get past some of these MX5s, it has been an eclectic first lap, to say the least.
One of the biggest things that we're going to see here that we saw in the EU race earlier is the GT3s that got caught up in these instances are going to have some aero damage as well as feel like they need to push harder going through. There will be more MX5s caught up in the chaos in this second race. Kiage made a comment earlier that while we were racing really hard against each other, we were within a second basically the entire race up until the last bit. There is an absolute feeling of just playing dodgeball in these MX5s right now, just trying to avoid getting hit by these GT3s coming through.
Yeah, I mean, you can only push so hard when you have all that going on around you, especially when these GT3 class is still trying to get their own pace sorted out as, again, those guys had their own reverse grid, so everybody's going to be trying to make their way around. And we've got 2 new guys in the pack, guys who really do tend to carry a lot of speed, even if they are just trying to get familiar at this stage. So I'm sure they're going to lock in pretty quickly here.
Yep, Base Cannon did participate in the EU race earlier as well, so he was in the Audi then as well. So he should have a setup in place already, and he should be ready to just rip it. It does look like he has quite a bit of damage from that first lap, though.
As you can see him taking some awkward lines, trying to avoid the contact with the McLaren in front, but that front wing definitely is going to have taken a bit of a hit. Looks like he's got a cracked side glass, so who knows if he swung around hard enough to hit that wing in the process as well. We see those 3 guys trying to battle things out in their own little shootout, and we've got Thorn here trying to fight off Big Dean Energy and Tommy Boy, another group of racers who carry a lot of speed. So these GT3 guys are really in for it. We're going to jump over to the MX5s just for a moment, though, as we've got 4 guys trying to fight things out here to work their way towards the fight back into the top 20 overall. But more than that, as we see them trying to set themselves up for a little bit of a drafting train. Does seem like Catchgold might fall his way out of this one, but Fudzy and Scrub will have the opportunity. Is Scrub going to go for the late break, or is Fudzy going to send a dive from Narnia? We'll find out in just a moment here. It looks like Fudzy is going to try and follow Scrub through the late break opportunity. Hope to take advantage of the battle between them and pull off a little bit of a through goes Hamilton, but not quite that lucky, but does manage to get competitive here in the mix with Trunks as he tries to find a way through. A little run in with the grass is going to send Scrub to the back of this 4-man fight here as Fuzzy tries to separate himself from these two. Goes for a little bit of a bump draft, although I'm not entirely positive it was an intentional one. He does do it. And that extra speed is going to be a bit too much for Trunks to handle, letting
Yeah,
Fudsy get by.
that bump and run really is an effective tactic. It's not inherently malicious, but it just discomforts the car ahead. Just carrying that extra speed into the corners, they're just not used to it. They don't. Their braking points are different, and they just don't quite know what to do. Does look like the grid has pretty much settled out now. The GT3s are all ahead of the MX5s at this point.
Yeah, but Bot Lando and Clutch Russ escape that whole grouping of chaos and find themselves 16.5 seconds away from the mix, battling each other out as they come up on the back of the MX5 pack already.
Yeah, we're 5 minutes in. The back of the MX5 pack, I believe they were 3 laps down at the end of the 4 laps down at the end of the last race. Meanwhile, the only car who was only lapped twice was Jump Raven. So
just tremendous consistency and pace from that one. Clutch Russ losing about 0.7 of a second there in traffic to Bot Lando ahead. So you can see just how key getting past these MX5s at the right moment really is. As we see Clutch Russ getting an awkward line through turn 4 now as well.
And it looks like Seb is having a pretty decent run now. He had managed to fall all the way back to the back of the GT3 pack, and he's back up to P10 here.
Yeah, leading the charge on the hunt for the front runners, hoping that that traffic helps him out a little bit. As we see a 4-man battle for P5 right now with Jump Raven trying to lead that one himself. Thorn is looking right behind these guys, but I don't want Jump to get too far out so we can see if anything like that happens and get creative at that. Jump now going to be a little bit off the back foot, but won't fall far enough to where Gandhi has too much of a chance to get on with it. We're going to jump a little further back to Pogo and Brett Anderson trying to chase down Sam GT3. Pogo having a very nice race too, looking for ways by. We do see Yanni Cash Cold having a little bit of a collision with Speed Bump, but it doesn't look like one that's big enough to cause serious I was gonna say serious incident, but it looks like Big Dean Energy did lose a little bit of time and positioning in there. As we see a 3-man battle coming up on a 2-man battle, that is a tricky spot to be in, especially when you got one car rubber banding a little bit. But we saw that familiar blue flash right at the last moment there, so thankfully that should free them up a little bit of the chaos.
It looks like we do have a new face here leading the MX5 pack right now with left sync handle having a commanding lead ahead of Sam right now with that 11-second gap.
Yeah, and left sync handle, worth noting, Sam has a currently 1 second faster personal best lap on the evening. So with that pace, left still has plenty of time to spare. It's really going to take a mistake to make something happen. And speaking of mistakes, Big Dean Energy with a little bit of an awkward entrance into 5 gives gives who are we watching here? I think I just screwed that up. Jump Raven having a little bit of an awkward entrance into 5, giving Big Dean Energy the chance to get by. Got the MX5 of Trunks getting caught up in that GT3 sandwich. Man, look at just how many of them are coming around together. This GT3 field is very close together and very unforgiving, as you can tell.
Yeah, and we see another MX5 here off the track. Looks like he might have gotten bullied a little deep into the corner there. As I mentioned in the EU race earlier, the patience on these GT3s in race 2 was thin. There was a lot less patience waiting to get through traffic.
As you can see,
wide into Andretti.
Oh wow! I mean that was perfect timing. as we now have a different four-man grouping going on, and they still have to get around that same MX-5 car. And look, again, there is one line for the MX-5s, and I don't think these GT3s have figured it out yet. But they have to take every corner pretty much as wide as they can. Your only hope is to go for a switchback type of move on these guys, which unfortunately we don't seem to be seeing a lot of, and it's leading to some pretty nifty chaos. As Gandhi now getting past Jump Raven on his way up towards the fight between Seb Bellew and Thorn ahead. And let's see, does Seb take the dive? He's going to have to, it seems, to keep up with Thorn, but manages to do so cleanly as Fudzy, a little bit more experienced in the multi-class madness that we've had before.
I am genuinely impressed that we haven't seen too many spins in that corkscrew.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure where Clutch Russ had their moment, but clearly there was one, as they are now 12 seconds behind Bot Lando, giving Speed a little chance at a possible P2 finish for the second event, which would go quite a long way. Wow, you can see that MX-5 and GT3 same speed through the corner on display with the hairpin. A Speed struggle, or a Seb struggle to get by for a moment.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to watch some of these cornering speeds, because the MX-5s carry a lot more speed than these GT3s anticipate. And really, if the GT3 doesn't get through on the straight, their only real attacking option, without risking contact, collisions, and absolute murder, like we just saw there, is on corner exit.
Oh my God. I didn't really have the words to describe some of the stuff that we were just witnessing, but a little bit of a quick lessons on do's and don'ts. Do not do that, and don't do that. So just a quick lesson for all our viewers on the RRR expectations for normal racing, but a little chaos over here throughout Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week. So such is life.
Just a celebration week, right? We expect chaos in these races. It's kind of a throwback to when we first started. I'd swear almost nobody on the grid knew how to keep it on the track when we first put things together.
Yeah, I definitely was one of those. I would imagine it took me a long time to get consistent with my driving capabilities.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely one of those until even probably this last fall, where I actually sat down and finally put some time in to learn some basics of driving.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, I mean, we saw it on last Friday. Granted, I had some technical issues as well, but I couldn't keep the car together.
Oh, as we see Photoshop fully scrub out of the way there a little bit and keep pushing by. We'll see Scrub rejoin, I'm sure, in just a moment, trying to stay a little bit ahead of Catch Colt. Jump a little further along to Tater, who's still nipping at the hips of Deadly Daniel, looking for a chance to probably make use of traffic, I'd imagine, at this point, because that's where everybody will be looking for the big moments.
Yeah, really the strategy is to just close up that gap as much as we can and hope that they run into traffic and you have a chance to catch them.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you're really going to get. Speaking of chances, it looks like Jump Raven might have one on Tommy Boy, but again, they will have an MX-5 to compete around through turn 3, and side by side into 4 is not exactly where you want to be. Someone will have the advantage, and it looks like it'll be, I was going to say Jump Raven, as he had a chance for a little bit more acceleration, but Tommy Boy finds the speed in that Lamborghini and will escape the easy pass once more, but Jump Raven not really giving up just yet.
Yeah, This R8 definitely has the mix that it takes to be successful around a track like this. Meanwhile, those Lamborghinis, it's just impressive to see what they are capable of on this type of track. Um, Generally, they're more of a straight line, and these low speed corners are not friendly with that car at all.
Yeah, now you do see Tommy Boy really starting to gain a little bit at a time here, but Jump Raven, one of our experienced racers, making it difficult. And only 5 minutes left to go. He's certainly going to have another opportunity once they come up on another batch of MX5 traffic, which I'm certain there will be. Looks like Max Yang looking for a little opportunity on Fudzy. Same goes for Sam Smith, or Sam, sorry, GT3 finally looking for his chance on left sync handle. So this could be the big moment here. Sam trying to take charge of the race. 15 seconds separate these guys and P3. So it's really just between them and a mistake at this point.
Yeah, and that battle for P3 is still open. Pogo and Brett within a half a second of each other. That is drafting range of these cars.
Now they will have to be a little bit careful. Botlando, the lead car, is slowly coming up on them. He is finishing the Andretti hairpin right now, and he's only got about 6 seconds behind him to clutch Russ. So those guys having their own fight. This is going to be very interesting. And it looks like these two are actually coming up on some lapped MX5 traffic. So this will be a weird moment, I think, by the looks of things through the corkscrew. But Sam trying to make him a little nervous, pushing left sync handle wide, but not wide enough. And sync will manage to carry the acceleration, forcing Sam to try and regain the speed and line up for another move down the line. I'm going to jump back for just a moment, though, because I do see Brett Anderson's thinking about a similar situation on Pogo in the battle for the final podium slot. That number 55 car has been pushing very hard. You can hear the GT3 of Speed Bump close behind. So we'll see if that lap traffic does them any good as well.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like these guys are hitting those same lap times as they did in the first race. It looks like they are a little bit slower as we see a McLaren weaving between the MX5s into the final corner and
Oh,
getting caught up.
and pays the
That
price
that
for it.
contact, the contact may be what Brett needs to catch up.
Yeah, that's definitely going to help Brett out here. We see Speed Bump did end up losing the position to Base Cannon, so that'll be a fight for the podium spot over the last 2 laps there, as we see Sam now getting closer and closer to left sync handle as well. So we are going to have to jump over to that one. That is the title fight, and they've got a GT3 car coming up behind them, pushing hard. That's going to be Clutch Russ, who's now closed down the gap to 3.5 seconds. Now I understand the flashing a little bit more justifiable. Speed already got the position back on Base Cannon. I didn't even see when that one happened.
Yeah, it looks like they're still fighting side by side. The agility that McLaren has over the Audi is definitely showing here. As
It's
left sync handle goes over the drain grate and loses a lot of speed going through that corner. Sam did have to slow down on that inside line, but he has the chance here to pull away and take away that win.
Yeah, big corner here is going to do him some major favors. Needs to be at least half a second away and counting, and that he is. So that's going to be a big one for Sam. And thankfully, will let us bounce over to see what happened here with Speed Bump, whose I think tires are getting to him as he has another incident. Doesn't seem to lose enough spots at the moment to allow for Big Dean Energy to catch all the way up. Oh, but definitely having some issues you can see with the tires.
Yeah, those are hot right now. He's having some major issues just getting the power down. Brett in within 2/10 here of Pogo. There is going to be where's Botlando on the track right now?
Lando is not going to be able to make
This
it all the way around, so this will be the
is,
last lap for our racers.
well, for anybody who is currently behind.
Yeah, all the way to
Oh, yeah.
P20 pretty much.
Yep.
So at the end here, we've got just a few battles left to go, and we see one of them getting stuck behind the MX5 fight here, but Brett Anderson managing to take advantage of the GT3s and Pogo's caution and gets through on the final lap. We'll look a little bit further ahead because it looks like Tater was able to make it by Thorn a little further through turn 4. And Thorn will be looking to try and nab that back once more. Up ahead, Bot Lando did end up taking the lead as Clutch Russ finishes 0.7. Wow, what a climb back. Just unfortunately not enough as we look to see Speed Bump still only half a second away from Big Dean Energy, so one corner could be enough. We're going to jump over just to see what happens, but doesn't look like that corner is going to come. We'll also jump over to Thorn again. I do see Pogo not going to have the opportunity to make it over on Brett Anderson, but a well-fought lap at that. As we see Thorn going for it. Oh, and pushes
Major
Tater
contact.
a little bit too wide. Thorn's going to wait and do the respectable thing. Let Tater obviously have the position. But the battle we thought we had is not going to end that way. We'll jump over to Max Yang, who has a little bit of company behind him, as we've got Max Yang and Yanni Catchgold wrapping up their portion of the grid together. Oop, as goes by one of the GT3s. And then have Nati Mon, who I think is a very late joiner to the event, but one that was welcome nonetheless. And will soon to be followed by Mega Mew and Tom York. So an absolutely exciting race too. Josh, you called it. That was something unlike anything we've seen recently. Definitely a solid homage to the early days. And if I know our racers and I know about an homage to the early days, I can count on the dog pile at the end. Looks like a lot of them have left already, but you can see the remnants of, yep, all the major collisions and donuts that have been done.
Yeah, these mixed grids are just absolutely wild. It was so much fun driving the EU race earlier. It was a lot of fun watching it from the outside perspective as well. I'm definitely looking forward to the shifter carts at the Highlands, as well as our finale for this event here at Watkins.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be an interesting week of broadcasting. I look forward to squeezing a few more in. Hopefully, get some guest broadcasters as well. But till the next one, my friend.
Yeah.
Adios.